Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all staying safe, I hope you're all staying well, and most of all, I hope you are all fighting that war against the grey. Today we're going to do another wishlisting video, and this one is thanks to someone in our Discord who has asked me to look at the Hedonites of Slaanesh. Slaanesh is one of the four major chaos gods. He is the god of excess and depravity. And today we're going to look at what we would like to see from Hedonites of Slaanesh in the future for Age of Sigmar. There's no right or wrong answers with this. This is just purely wishlisting and having some fun and thinking of some cool ideas that we'd maybe like to see in the army in the future. My own opinions are my own, but I'd love to hear yours as well and your ideas and what you think of my ideas down in the comments below. So leave some comments down there. Also, if there's a faction you would like to see, leave a comment down below of a faction you would like to see done. Don't forget to check the backlog of all of these that have been done so far. There's quite a few of them out now, and I'm glad that people have been enjoying them. However, let's get right into Hedonites of Slaanesh, and this is 10 things I'd like to see for them. Number 1, mortal followers, other than Hellstriders. So Hellstriders are chaos marauders mounted atop steeds of Slaanesh. They're the only actual mortal follower unit in the book outside of the Slaves to Darkness units that can be brought in. This was generally one of the biggest criticisms of the Slaanesh release, that there wasn't more mortals brought out with the release. People were hoping for like a Kyrek Acolyte equivalent on foot, and potentially seeing them on chariots as well. Much the same as how we see things like Blood Crushers and all that being having both mortal riders and daemon riders. We could have seen the chariots with both mortal and daemon crews. Would have been really cool. I think both these units, both foot troops and the chariots with the mortals on them, would be great additions to the Slaanesh army. It would really add something to them and give you that real ability to have an army of Slaanesh mortals that look like they belong in a Slaanesh army and aren't just Slaves to Darkness painted to look like they're in the army. There's nothing wrong with Slaves to Darkness doing that, but it would be cool if they had those equivalents of like things like Kyrek Acolytes and Blood Reavers within the army. Point number 2, I'd like to have a broader look at what excess is. So there is the general aspect of Slaanesh, and most people view Slaanesh as the old saying of sex, drugs and rock and roll. There's nothing wrong with this, and that is definitely a form of excess. However, excess is something and can be something a lot more than that. We've had looks at it in other characters in Warhammer Fantasy in the past. We'll get to that though on a different topic, and I'd like to see excess explored more. For me, I've actually had some really good memories with like looking at different aspects of Slaanesh, and one of those comes when I was playing Warhammer Fantasy roleplay, or Warhammer Fantasy roleplay game, the RPG, and we had to root out a chaos cult when I was playing that, and they turned out to be Slaanesh. However, these were so different than the generic Slaanesh that you see. These were fat, bloated men that were like eating like all these weird delicacies, like some really messed up stuff, like children, and eating all that sort of like really messed up stuff. However, they like were drinking fine wines, like added with like a drop of blood into it, and it was really quite macabre and over the top. But like the whole point was they were excess in a very different aspect. And it was just cool seeing that sort of thing as a different aspect. I'm not suggesting that Games Workshop would ever go as macabre as what I played in that roleplay game. However, like I'd like to see different aspects of excess looked at, like a fat, bloated man who is excessively eating, and like stuff like that is a really cool way to look into Slaanesh and a much different sort of look at it all. Point number 3, though. I like to see digging deeper into the narrative of Archaon and Slaanesh. We got that small conversation between Slaanesh and Archaon in the Wrath of the Everchosen book, and I'd really like to see that relationship and learn about that relationship more between the two. Archaon obviously does not trust the Chaos Gods. He is using them for his own means. He is the Everchosen, chosen by all four, but he does not swear fealty to them. He sees himself as an equal, or as using them for his own goals rather than being used like they would believe. Or potentially he is being used. Who knows? They both think they're playing the Chaos Gods and Archaon. But that interesting chat we had between Slaanesh saying like, oh, I know Archaon, you know you need me, that's why you're here to help, because you need me. I want to see that relationship more. It's really interesting to me. Point number 4, I'd like to see some corrupted elves. Now, I'm not talking about the Cult of Pleasure and whatever it was in Warhammer Fantasy come back, but we got a look at an elf that was corrupted in the the Splintered Fang Warcry warbands. We got the corrupted elf in there, a really cool model. But I'd like to see maybe Slaanesh in his time in isolation and like in chains has been using some of the elf souls and storing them where the elf gods can't extract them, and maybe he's made this corrupted race of elves, forging them in his own image. I just think that's a much more interesting way to go about it than have elves that are already out get corrupted by Slaanesh. I think it's much more interesting to have Slaanesh be holding this force inside him and not allowing these particular elf souls to come out. Point number 5, and going back to some new models, I'd like to see new Lesser Daemons of Slaanesh models. So we obviously got the Enchanting Enraptress, or what is she? Infernal Enraptress, sorry. And she is a fantastic model. That blew my mind when I saw her. The other hero, I forget the name of the other foot hero, I'm sorry, but I'd like to see maybe an update to that and maybe some different variations of Daemonette heroes. We've got I think Nurgle does it really well. He got a Sloppy Bile Piper and all that sort of stuff, and the different Plague Bearer level heroes. I'd like to see that for Slaanesh as well. Point number 6, and I mentioned this just before, or at least alluded to it, and that's I'd like to see Sigvald come back, or at least take that idea and put it into AOS. So Sigvald is one of those different sort of looking things of excess. He is effectively Prince Charming. He is overindulgent in his own excess of his own personality and beauty and vanity, and I'd love to see that come back. I think you've got a fantastic character in Sigvald, and maybe somehow change him, but he's someone I would like to see back. 7, I want to see more on the internal Slaanesh war. So there are 3 different aspects to Slaanesh. You have the Invaders, the Pretenders, and the Seekers. The Invaders are ones that sort of are acting like nothing has changed. They still go murdering in Slaanesh's name and doing all the things in his name as if nothing had changed when Slaanesh was captured. The Pretenders are ones trying to pretend to be Slaanesh. They're sort of they're pretending, and the Seekers are the ones who are actually going out and seeking him. All these parties have very different goals and very different ideas of what Slaanesh wants them to do, and I feel like an internal struggle between the 3 is a really interesting sort of thing to look at. I always mention that I love internal conflict between factions. It gives factions depth, and it makes games where faction versus faction seem so much more reasonable. It can't happen with every faction, but I think once again Slaanesh are one where it could really pay off. The 3 different aspects of these Slaanesh hosts that are searching for Slaanesh, the god himself, or herself, whichever, is a really interesting thing to look into. Point number 8, give me Slangor. When the Zangor came out for Tzeentch, I was delighted. New Zangor models. I remember the old Gore model, the old metal Gore models from the different cults and stuff like that. The Korngor, the Slangor, Pestigor, and all that. But I think let's bring some Slangor back. I was really disappointed with Magickin and Nurgle when Pestigor weren't part of the release, and was again when we didn't get Korngor and we haven't got Slangor. So I think that's really something cool to go look into. And give some more depth to the army as well. Then all of a sudden we've got Slangor, if we add in the Hedonites, the mortal followers that I want as well, plus the actual Slaanesh demons, we've got a much more fuller force. Point number 9, I want to know more about Slaanesh's capture. We have a brief story overview of what happened and how Slaanesh got captured, but I really think I'd like to really heavily delve into how he was captured, really heavily. And I think this probably isn't done by a battle tome. This is probably a novella and story between the Chaos God and the Pantheon gods, and a story to tell that I'd really like to see come into a novella. And number 10, I think it's time we freed Slaanesh. We've had this story of them seeking him for so long. It may be another year, probably. Maybe the next story arc, but we've now had this story going for so long that Slaanesh is not there, and now I think it's time to free him. He won't immediately take his place back on the Pantheon, and the fact that the Horned Rat sees himself as being on the Pantheon now is an interesting thing, because now the Horned Rat and Slaanesh are going to be very directly opposed because they want that spot on the Pantheon. So I think him being freed and him going, someone's taking my seat, maybe could lead to a quite cool conflict between Skaven and Slaanesh, and an interesting storyline to tell there. Just my thoughts Anyway, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the Hedonites of Slaanesh, what you'd like to see, what you think about my own ideas. Don't forget to leave some comments down below of what you think of the Hedonites of Slaanesh and what you'd like to see from them. Don't forget to like the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're fast approaching 1,000 and I can't wait to hit that milestone. And lastly, make sure you all stay safe, stay healthy, and keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now, everyone.